welcome back everyone. Welcome back to the Light Movements Talks. Very nice to see you all. I hope you're all doing well wherever you are in the world watching this video. Many thanks for coming along to the Light Movement Centre here in my beautiful home here in Ireland to bring you these talks, and you can really call it even a spiritual practice in itself of spiritual knowledge and of well-being from the Light Movement itself. So as always, let's start with a yogic chant, and let's put you might be kneeling or you might be cross-legged on the floor in a lotus position, crossing your legs, or you may be sitting in a chair, which I am with you. Maybe at one stage I will be sitting on the floor myself, but for now I'm just sitting in the chair here, so I'm accustomed to that. But I have my both my legs crossed, and put your right hand on top of your left, rest it on your lap there, and just repeat after me. Asatuma sagamaya tamasuma judigamaya. With your mom gritam gamaya. Shanti Shanti Shanti. So thank you all for joining. This is the second video on YouTube on this channel by the Light Movement, a spiritual movement that welcomes everyone in for a better well-being and a better quality of life through spiritual tools and technology, and wisdom and practice, teachings and spiritual practices from the Light Movement and talks. So today's talk, we're going to talk on a topic, you could say, of interest to the Light Movement that we are pretty certain of, and we believe in, and we know is true. I think from my own experience and as an observer of life, I think you can agree with me that this is valid, truthful bit of wisdom and knowledge that I'd like to share with you, dear readers, today. It's on the subject of duality, so I will have to be talking a little bit on the dark side, I'm afraid, just to give that side a bit of information about what it means, because there's also there's light and there's dark, or good and bad, or God and Satan, as it were. So don't get too upset or down if I talk about the dark side or the dark side of duality. Just for viewers, understanding on the subject of duality, and how it relates to mental health and well-being, and our world, our outside world today, and our mind. That can, if we know this information, it can help us understand why things happen in the world, dark things happen in the world. So we'll just make a brief introduction to that, and we'll talk about light as well. So the Light Movement has come up with this theory. I think it works, and I think it's pretty good. It's called dark infiltration and dark manifestation, okay? And we believe that this is what creates most of the troubles and problems and darkness in our world, which is basically suffering, okay? So this suffering leads to, first it comes into the human mind or the human body, okay? That's where it first comes from. It's like when we're in a low frequency, when we're in a low vibration, we're susceptible to these inferior forces of dark, okay? So when we're moody, we're in a mood, for instance, aren't we all acceptable, or are we all we all get touchy when we're moody, don't we? We're all in a in a bad mood, or we have an attitude. So light movement believes that it's a vibration that we're in, or frequency in the spectrum lower down, where things can be triggered, um, you know, um, where we could lash out at people or react to people or make bad decisions or whatever. So is this force that we are vulnerable to, and I'll just call it the dark force, okay? Now I use the term dark and even the religious term Satan interchangeably. So when I talk about Satan in this talk, I don't, I'm not referring to a person that two horns popping out of his head that is like controlling all this, it's Satan, it's that person over there. It's the satanic forces or the dark forces that can be realized within us, and we have to explain how this happens, and we're still trying to understand, where it comes from. But like the Buddha says, he says that when they ask him, what is evil, where does evil stem from, this is another term for dark, you can say, or Satan. They're all interchangeable words, some with religious terminology, but for instance, where did evil lay? They said to Gautama, the Buddha, Gautama the Buddha, and he said evil is it's basically in inferior its inferiority of the human condition, which is desire, temptation, that leads to inferior thoughts, negative feelings, and this can lead into actions like reacting, getting angry with people, feeling shame, feeling guilty, feeling hurt, suffering, and giving it to other people as well. Anger, jealousy, greed, all of these things. These are all the lower, qualities of the human condition, in the lower end of the spectrum of consciousness, we can call it, and, I think, religious and non-religious and spiritual and non-religious spiritual people, I think we can all come together and agree on this, that there is a thing called duality, and we understand that sometimes we have bad days, don't we, and we're moody, and we believe we're in that low state of consciousness, and when we're in that low state of consciousness, that vibration frequency, we're vulnerable, aren't we, to getting upset or reacting or making bad choices and decisions, or just feeling low energy and not feeling ourselves, not motivated or inspired. I think we can all agree on that. So that's just kind of an introduction I wanted to say about duality, the dark side of duality, how it makes us feel. It makes us feel, it's those inferior emotions and thoughts, and we can act on them, get angry and all the rest. So dark infiltration it's like, it kind of stems from that, but it's dark infiltration, you could say, is like that of the body, of creating inferior well-being or inferior mental health, that creates suffering. So that's like a dark infiltration of the human body. But that's when we're unaware, when we're not conscious of, when we believe our thoughts, when we believe what we feel, because a lot of people, they are how they feel. I am too sometimes, but now I'm trying to train myself, and I'll do a spiritual practice on this for you. I'll put this up as a video. I'm trying to train myself where, when I'm feeling down or unconscious and moody, to snap out of it, to change and get out of that dark side, that low vibration, and try to increase my vibration, and increase my consciousness or my level of being, so I can be happier, and I can stop that dark infiltration from arising. That has an effect on my mental health, for instance. So I think we can all agree on that. That's just a simple explanation of mental health there. Because if we don't do anything about it, it just goes into depression, and that can lead into anxiety, can't it? So that's why it's important. But I wanted to talk about dark infiltration and manifestation in the outside world now, as well. So let's say authorities, someone in authority, can be infiltrated by dark. Okay, this dark force. Now, we don't know what this dark force is. We can't see it. Science and technology can't see it, but we know it. Like it's like temptation. It comes into us, and it's like a temptation or desire. So it's like a person that's unconscious, an ignorant person of ignorance, or it could be even a conscious person of the dark, or that's knowing or consciously doing what they're doing, or someone that's unconscious, they're unknowing, or they don't know what they're doing. So that can happen in our systems. Would you believe it? In society, it can happen. In our justice system. It can happen in our business, economy, our business. It can happen in our religion. Would you believe it? It can actually dark can infiltrate our religion. It can infiltrate authorities. It can infiltrate our minds. It can infiltrate technology, such as AI, would you believe? Even money, where money becomes corrupt for bad, wrong purposes. So this dark infiltration infiltrates everything of the light, or everything that's good, or anything, and it tries to infiltrate it and use it and abuse it. And this goes for our mind as well, that we have to protect our mind, don't we? We have to stop this dark, infiltration happening, whatever it comes from. Whatever what makes that temptation arise within us. We need to nip it in the bud. We have to stop that desire before it manifests into dark manifestation, which we'll talk about in a little while. But the dark infiltration is just that dark force of duality, that dark side of duality, where we think it's our own thoughts, but they're not. And we identify with them. And when we identify with them, we can put them into action, and then we can then they may manifest in our systems, of control and dominance and greed and power and all the rest. So that could be a world leader. It could be a present or unsuspected president, or it could be a war leader in wartime, or just a power leader in a country or whatever. And we can see through the pages of history, the dark pages of history, there have been many, dark leaders in the world that have, unfortunately created such suffering for humanity, and they themselves were infiltrated by dark, but they thought they were it, but they were infiltrated by it, meaning that Satan, it's another word for dark, Satan was controlling them, or they had been played by Satan, but they thought it was them that was consciously doing it, so they did it to everyone else, the suffering. These war leaders or whatever, whoever, I won't name any names, but we all know who they are, but they pushed out the suffering to humanity through military might, through the sufferings of throughout the pages of history. So there's a lot of dark players, you can call them, knowingly and unknowingly, that are infiltrated by dark, this force. They believe it's their own thoughts. They believe it's them that's truly doing it, but it's not. It's of Satan. It's of the satanic, that dark force, that demonic force, as it were. Now, this can come in very, different levels of consciousness, very subtle levels of consciousness, and very extreme levels of consciousness, where you have a dictator, for instance, that is completely corrupt, or a dictator that's corrupt. That's a psychopath, that's narcissist, and they have no feelings or emotions, and they do terrible atrocities, to mankind and their own people, their own nation. There have been many leaders like that in the world that have taken up positions of power, and that's how they infiltrate. That's how dark infiltrates a government system or a system of power, of control. Because once dark infiltrates a human being, and once that human being becomes in a position of power and influence, they have the systems in their pocket, meaning they have a lot of control over humanity's systems of that nation. So they might have, the justice system in their pocket. They might have, the religious system even in their pocket. They might have the business in their pocket, the business world in their pocket, the authorities in their control. So dark comes down, it comes into the human body, and we identify it with ourselves, but really it's not us. We've been played by Satan, and so Satan's using us, and he's using what we stand for, all the systems that are below us that we're in control of. So then that person, or that organization or whatever, they start to design, manipulate or orchestrate that position of power that they're in. Okay, so they abuse that position of power they're in, be it a leader or a president or a business person like a banker, or a justice a minister, or even a religious figure. Unfortunately, religion has been infiltrated by dark in the past a lot, and we can see this has happened in Ireland. Unfortunately, back in its day when they had the authorities and they had the systems in their pocket, the religion had this organized religion, had this control over us, but it was dark. It was Satan. It was of satanic nature through the human being that was hiding under the covers of religion, because he was hiding there. It was like a safe haven. So that's how these dark forces infiltrate systems, and they use systems that people in society respect, like authorities, and even religion and faith, because they believe it's true. Now, I'm not saying they're all like this. I'm just saying it's a possibility that this happens, and I think it's fair to say that it has happened in this world today, when we see the abuse of human rights in certain nations, in the world, like in the Middle East, with in the justice systems there, where the religion has the justice system, the education system, the business system, the authorities in their pocket. So they're abusing these positions of authority and power. And when it comes to the justice system, it's particularly dangerous for that nation and for other nations and for the people of nations, because that's dark infiltration, and that leads to dark manifestation, which is the suffering that comes out of that, or the degeneration or the involution of the human being, and the suffering and hurt that comes out of that, the destruction of Satan's manifestation, Satan's power become realized from that. And that can be from crime to from the infiltration of our mental well-being, our mental health, suicide, for instance, or depression, anxiety, or it could be corrupt government, or power, dominance, control, whatever. Satan uses all of these things, and the light movement associates this with the old world. We call it the old world, where humanity is based on these systems, but these systems, I'm saying most of them are conscious, and it's important to keep them conscious, and that's why it's important to have that element of spirituality in humanity, in these systems as well, to have that is a magical ingredient, that touch of humanity that keeps them conscious, that keeps them away from this dark infiltration, that protects us from this dark infiltration. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a little while, using the science, technology, and spirituality to do that. But for now, this force infiltrates our society and our systems, right? And we call people work for these authorities, and they do it just mechanically or unconsciously. They're getting paid for it, but it's really not in their heart. It's not really what they believe in, but they're just following it because it's from authority. So it just goes back to the saying, authority isn't the truth. Truth is the authority. And I think people need to realize that, and we've seen that this, has happened a lot of times in humanity, where there's still religious, situations that are the religion is control of the people, and when they step out of line, when they express their human rights on the social media in these countries, they're arrested, and even the justice system is for it as well. They're connected to religion, so the religion has control over the justice system. So the justice system, takes out these warrants, bring these people, arrests these people, and imprisons these people. Now, a classic example would be the lady. She's only in her 30s, I think. She's 30 years old, and she was arrested for expressing her human rights views on social media, and I think she didn't wear a dress code as well. So she abused those things that were against the religion. But that religion is based on Allah, and Allah wouldn't want anyone abused, and He certainly wouldn't want anyone to be murdered. But the justice system has introduced legislation for for even the death penalty for arresting people that abuse the ideologies or the dogma or the indoctrinations, if they go against the indoctrinations of a faith or a religion. I myself I love religion, but that's how dark can infiltrate a religion and abuse systems that are connected with it, like the justice system, for instance, and the authorities. So that woman is now taken away from her home, and she's given 11 years imprisonment in a terrorist prison in that nation. And that's an abuse of power. That's where dark infiltration is using the justice system against the people and the authorities against the people, to maybe have control over the population, or to put fear into the population for its own interests, to get its own way. So why does dark infiltration happen? It does it to try to it does for its own interests. It's not for the betterment of the people, but it will try to hide under the covers of saying that, oh yeah, we are for the people, so it'll hide under the covers of religion, organized religion that's manipulated, and it's not really true in what they're doing, because God or the religious master that created that religion would definitely not want anyone to be harmed or abused or hurt in situations. Always compassion should be used, mercy and forgiveness, and just good conscious justice. But 11 years for expressing your human rights, and for not having a dress code, we believe that's an extreme, and it's an abuse form of power by dark, where dark has infiltrated obviously that the justice system, the authorities there to do that, and this causes a lot of suffering. This is a manifestation from it. This suffering is the suffering the people, the fear it gives to people, or for her parents that cry for her and are in fear and worry for her well-being. This gives a lot of fear and suffering for Mana Hel, the woman herself in the prison, where she was reportedly was attacked, and even stabbed. So that's dark manifestation that arises from that, which I don't think any faith or religion would really support that, and they made that happen. They caused that to happen, which is wrong. So that's why it's dark infiltration, and that's our view on that. That the light movement is, we are a big advocate of human rights. We think that human rights should be respected. We believe that people should have allowed to have free speech, and they should be allowed to communicate their human rights issues on social media. We believe that people should have a right to peaceful protest in their nation, to make good change. If something was to go wrong in the system, that's certainly wrong. I mean, people have to stand up and say, it's wrong what they're doing, because the people are the government, the people are a reflection of the government, the authorities, because they are supposed to look after the welfare of that nation, of those people. So that's why we believe that is an absolute must, that human rights should be respected, free speech should be respected, and peaceful protest should be respected, as to give some power to the people on a vote on this, for the direction they want their nation to go in, and for the well-being of the nation, and to stop dark infiltration as well in any of their systems. If something happened in an authority here in Ireland, where they abused someone and it was against the law and it was against human rights, straight away, the people will come out in arms. There would be protests about it, hopefully, because they know it's wrong. They know it's against, God. It's against being human, because it takes away people's rights. It gives them abuse. It gives them suffering. That's unjust. So that is what we stand on. So dark infiltration happens. it happens from this human being, and it can come from, from politics to authorities, but to the individual person. You're just a common person like myself, living at home or working. It can happen in domestic abuse situations where dark infiltration has invested the person. They're tempted, or they do dark things, which is dark manifestation, which is violence and abuse. So dark infiltration happens, unfortunately, but the good news is we have the tools and the technology, but we're not told about it in the education system, like spirituality, that can prevent dark infiltration from happening. And if we can prevent dark infiltration from happening, in people, in society, in systems and authorities and governments and business people, if we can stop that, it will stop dark manifestation. Okay, it will prevent dark manifestation. So we prevent the dark infiltration. We stop the dark infiltration by spirituality, by just wisdom and humanity, and conscious systems, that are just of human rights, for instance, and of humanity, well-being. Okay. And to empower people with the spiritual tools and technology in our schools, our education system, is an option, so they are protected in society, so they know that they're doing the right thing. They can identify dark infiltration within themselves, within other people, so they could be whistleblowers themselves in organizations that are so essential. When an organization is corrupt, for instance, or doing something wrong, it's very important that there should be a whistleblower there that puts their hand up and shows the general public that their system that they have elected is corrupt and flawed and abusing the funds of their money or whatever it is. So dark infiltration happens, but the sad thing is the people that are doing it, they think they're in control and they think they're doing it, but it's not. It's an illusion. It's maya. It's of temptation, and this temptation that gives them this desire that they have identified with, that makes this desire happen, is that evil that the Buddha was talking about. And if they identify with that and they believe it even as truth, they just believe in it, they can act upon that, and act upon that, then they commit crimes and sins in the name of humanity in those positions of authority and of power and of influence. Now, what normally does this dark or Satan want in humanity through mankind is usually the same old scenario, which is a lot that goes on in the old world. So this would be power. People in power, they want more control. They want to be totalitarianism in the total sense of the word. You know what I mean? They want to be completely dominate their whole society or their whole nation. So they will orchestrate and design, all the systems and authority in their favor to make their desire become a realization. Okay, so they will have the justice system in their pocket. They'll bring out new laws and legislations to instill fear into people, as a way of controlling them, or even to criminalize people as a way of making them, going after them, as well. So it's all about quietening the people. It's all about abusing their position of power, which the people themselves should be in control of, because they're a reflection of the power. We should be a reflection of the power. So that's kind of like a dictatorship gone corrupt or gone wrong. But of course, all these dictators and as such that do these dark work, they do it unknowingly or knowingly, consciously or unconsciously, and then we even, say we're doing the right thing. It's by religion, and they try to hide under the covers of, authorities and even organized religion, by manipulating religion that good people believe in, and that's valuable. They mess with the religion, and they abuse the religion, to get their own way, for their own interests. And we've seen this in Ireland with the scandals of the church back in the day, and that's why the people are wondering why people have left the church, why the numbers are gone down so much. It is because of the scandals in the past where the priesthood, those dark people that came into the priesthood perhaps, and they abused
young people in their care, in orphans and in homes, and places like that, and they were connected then to the 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 higher echelons of the system, like the authorities, the police, the justice system, and all the rest. And when they had that control, then they have like total control over the people, and that can, and if they do wrong, they can really stagnate the growth, the prosperity of the nation. They can, and that will lead to more suffering and all the rest. But then that will happen into people. That'll come out in people's well-being and mental health will be disturbed, and that'll come into a crime, and all the rest. So that's dark manifestation from the dark infiltration. It means civil war in the country. It means even the politicians themselves that are doing these dark works. They get thrown out of power, so it's not good for them, for their career. Um, it can do a lot of damage and harm in society. By hurting people, and abusing their faith, abusing their religion. So they turn away from it because that's what Satan wants. He wants to destroy these religions by making them corrupt, by hiding underneath them, and using them to manipulate societies, authorities, and systems. And when the people are aware of this, when the people wake up to this, that damages that religion and that faith, like we've seen in Ireland, like the Christian faith here in the churches at a time when all the scandals came out, all the priests were ridiculed, and people didn't stop going to church and all the rest. But thankfully now it's cleaned up, I do believe, and people are coming back again. But we're not at the level of, we don't trust or respect the religion that we did back then, because it did those terrible atrocities through the instruments of power and influence that they had at the time. So that's why it's very damaging for a nation when Satan or dark infiltrates our religion, that people love and adore, that do great things for us. Like, I mean, without Christianity, without all the faiths all over the world, like the church in Ireland, they did so much great work. They even did great work for us when I was growing up. We were a poor family, poor background, and they gave us food and they gave us clothing, and they were very nice. And I went to a convent, and the teachers were lovely people. And the missions, the church missions, the church and the Catholic missions and the Protestant missions, they went around the world, helping, poor people in Africa, setting up schools for them and clean water and teaching them about God and all the rest, spreading Christianity throughout the world. So religion played a big part for humanity. I don't know where we would be without it, and I feel very disheartened and sad that religion was infiltrated, and that a lot of people cannot see that, or they know of it, but they feel powerless or helpless because they're in fear, and rightly so, because the justice system is on their side, the religion's side. You must do this, or religion might proclaim if you don't do this you go to hell, and all the rest. These are against the religion itself. So that's how Satan weakens religion in the worlds, and that's how we've been fooled. So these people that are in these positions, that hold these positions, that become infiltrated with this, and I get identified with this inferior consciousness, these satanic forces, they themselves are being abused and used and played by Satan. They are just instruments. They're just Satan's instruments to attack humanity, as such, because they never get anything good out of it. It never ends well for any of these leaders. You always hear that they always end up suffering in some shape or form, or dying, or whatever, or thrown out of power, or whatever, or even losing their life, or even in the afterlife they suffer all the consequences of all the karma they bestowed on the people. So whatever you do in this life, it will be returned to you. Even if not in this life, the next life will be returned to you. So if you are abusing or if you are evil, um, like the Buddhists say, if you identify with sin and temptation and desire, and you put into action to, abuse and hurt the people by manipulating the systems for your own interests, which would be your own interests would be, power, more money, to be dominant, or even to feed off that negativity, that satanic force. Because it kind of beggars a question, doesn't it? That if these leaders, these dark leaders that have done these atrocities and all the rest, what's really in it for them? Are they really identified with Satan? Have they realized the embodiment of Satan itself, or Satan consciousness? Are they feeding off hurting the population and manipulating the truth as such? I feel I have a lot of sadness for these sort of leaders, because, you know, they too will suffer, the consequences of their own actions, so there's a thing called divine justice, and the light movement believes in that it's the laws of the universe, and the laws of karma, and that, like, whatever you put out there, whatever you do to people, it will come back to you, so rest assured, people, if there is authorities, or if there's people, it's in every form of life, people, animals, whatever. If people have hurt you, or if people have misused the truth, or abused their influence or their power, their situations, to hurt people, and for the suffering of people, don't worry. There's divine justice, and they will get their karma, and they will have to go through it in their own suffering. So that does exist. So I just want people to know that they don't get away with it. Nobody gets away with it in this world. It may seem like that to the intellect, it may seem like that to the mind, but that's not the way it works. So I just wanted to give you that reassurance on that, okay? So getting back to dark infiltration, it's of that side of duality, okay? So that can manifest into, countries, upheaval, revolution, but dark can create change when people realize and they see the light, which is the opposite side of that, the light. They can say, oh, we want to do better now, we want to elect better governments, more conscious systems, we want to change, we want a revolution to make things better. Perhaps in the Middle East might be situations where people might want to do a peaceful protest, and they want to make the people aware of human rights issues, that it's wrong what the authorities are doing, and they want change in the justice system to abolish the death penalty for these rulings, and these high prison sentences and things like that that go against the well-being of humanity, which seemed daft, in nature. So that's an area where people start to realize, and they wake up, that there is an opposite side to dark, that we don't have to be abused and used by dark. We can actually take the light side, which is the spiritual side, which is the pure core values of spirituality, or God, if you like, and this is to make people aware and to do the right thing, the just thing, of humanity, of well-being for humanity, and that would mean being conscious and being aware, creating change in the system for the benefit of the for the well-being of the population, for themselves, where justice is served, but it's done consciously, and it's done appropriately, and it's done humanely, it's done intelligently and wisely, and there's a touch of humanity in it, in the systems and structures, of compassion, of mercy and forgiveness. These are the virtues that all the religions proclaim that that humanity should use, of compassion, of forgiveness, and even mercy. And we should really, the systems should really use a bit of that, and a touch of humanity and well-being for the people. And that's human rights, isn't it? That's what human rights is about. It's a basic right of the individual being, that we should be allowed to live a life, in peace and in harmony, full stop, and if they're being abused by someone in control of that over them, I think society should allow peaceful protest to arise, to make people aware and to help change, a broken or corrupt system that doesn't work for the people, clearly, to help change and make that conscious, or to remove it, that piece, and to put something and replace it with something of the light. So I just wanted to make this talk on the dark side of duality, how it can infiltrate the human mind, makes us depressed and creates anxiety. This is of Satan, and gives us inferior thoughts, which is a crime against ourselves, which is inferior thoughts of shame, fear, feeling worthless. All of these things, these are the low ends of the spectrum of consciousness, and that's what Satan wants. Satan just wants to mess with our consciousness. He wants to distract our consciousness, and he will use everything at his disposal. He will use the entertainment business. You can see in the movies from America, the cruel, dark movies that they make of people being murdered and abused, and very, very, very sad stories of violence. Satan will use the justice system to create new legislation against the people very cleverly. So it's not justice anymore, but people think they're getting justice, but they're not, and that's really sad when that happens, because they're like the last, stand for humanity's rights, isn't it? It's the justice system, and if the justice system is compromised by dark or by Satan, that's a very sad situation for a country's nation, for their evolution. Satan can also infiltrate the business world, bankers, world, corrupt bankers. Or corrupt businessmen that have identified with just making more and more money at the expense of the suffering of the people. So they'll just where they just try to get more and more and more money from the system. When they have enough, they have millions and billions, but they'll just keep. They'll do it, to a disadvantage to the people, and they'll do it cleverly, where the law may be on their side, but they're morally not doing the right thing. It's like they're selling your land, or they're selling your mother's home, or they're doing something in business that's creating pollution for the atmosphere, or they're using things wrong, technology wrong, but they've gone through loopholes, or they're just getting by covering it up, or even the law could be on their side as well, where that is in their favor. It could be corrupt as well in their favor. So Satan wants to use everything at his disposal. He wants to use even you and me to even think that he's okay and he's right and all the rest. Basically, Satan wants humanity to be asleep. He wants us to be distracted. He wants to mess with our consciousness. He wants us to be asleep. He wants us to be mechanical and subservient to systems that he controls, that he's in power of. And when that happens, when that manifestation happens, a lot of people don't live a fulfilled life. They live a very mediocre life. They don't even know what life is. They're just mechanical, unconscious creatures, you could say. We're living in the 21st century, and we're just getting by, learning to survive, to put a roof over our head and food on our table for our children, and just to be enslaved to a system for that, which is satanic, because Satan will use all that money, and like the GDP of a country, he'll just take all that money from the GDP of what me and you earned, and put it into something else, like warfare, military warfare. So he'll spend taxpayers' dollars inventing new military technology, like weaponry, like $1 million, bomb, or even putting to bad use, military equipment or whatever. So we are paying for that, but we're never given a vote on it. We were never given a say. It's all just done, we're all just coasting along, and it's just all done, and it's all in the name of good, but really it's Satan that's really playing us. We're not in control. It's Satan that's playing humanity, because everyone gets a bad deal out of it, and this is more or less of what the old world is based on. The old world is based on success in terms of wealth, success in terms of power, success in terms of prestige and everything else, but it's not about success in the terms of fulfilling your true reality, and your true potential, that makes life great for you and others. Like, people don't even know themselves, and that's why spirituality is a very important technology and science, to empower people, to give them self-knowledge, so they can be more aware and make right decisions, and they can protect themselves from dark infiltration. They can have better well-being and better mental health, and they can be successful, but not just successful out in terms of more power and more money, but more successful in terms of a better quality of life, higher level of consciousness, where we can even have less than we have now. We have, I would certainly have way too much stuff, because the commercial industry is selling me this and that, and my pursuit of happiness is totally confused. I would like to live off a simple lifestyle, off the land, but I might not be given those opportunities to do so. I have to be molded and designed to be part of the labour force, to serve this economic engine that is unquestionably could be of dark infiltration, where we don't even know it ourselves. Like, for instance, where is our money going to? We're going to talk about AI and the new world in a moment. This is about the old world and how Satan works in the old world. But 25% of GDP is wiped off of in China. 25% towards AI development, and in other countries it's like 15%, 10%, 20%. That's a lot of money, and it's all been put into the race of using AI technology, okay, for the old world paradigm. So it's like dark trying to infiltrate AI technology for the old world paradigm, which is satanic in itself, right? Because the old world is based on power, money, dominance. So all the countries in the planet, all the nations are racing to be the first one to reach the top, to have the best military might, the best robots with killing machines, the best things that they can use against their neighbor, or they use out of fear if they need to, or they believe that they need it because if they don't do it first, if they don't invent that killing machine, their neighbor will get it, and then they will be vulnerable, or they'll be inferior for not having that technology in their military, for instance. Now this is playing with fire, and this is of the old world paradigm of the nuclear arms race. Okay, like, look at the stockpiles of nuclear arsenal we have now. It's huge. We don't use it, but we want it because our neighbors have it. So it makes us feel kind of secure, doesn't it? So this is the kind of way that AI is projected or invested in our money, the taxpayers' money. Our GDP. Actually, Mo, he's one of a talker on AI there, an AI expert. Mo, he said that the IT experts and the IT engineers and scientists were telling him that where is the money being spent on AI right now today? And he was saying that they're spending it on, would you believe it, they're spending it on spying, they're spending it on selling us stuff, they're spending it on the military for killing, basically, how to create war machines that kill, robotic war machines that kill the military, and for all that kind of stuff, for big business to sell us stuff and to become bigger business. Now the light movement's view on this is that its advice to these countries and these worlds, these nations, that it's great to invest in AI, but I think it's even better if you let people vote and give them a say on it, rather than just wiping that 10% or that 20% of our GDP, our taxpayers' money, and just pumping it in like never before. Investment is on astronomical. They reckon it's like $15 trillion dollars will be spent on AI by the end of this decade, by the end of 2030. That's not long away. That's a lot of money every year. That's like hundreds of billions and billions of pounds per nation. So they're just wiping that money off, and they're putting it towards their old world paradigm of the past of, more military might. How can we have more dominance? How can we equip ourselves to be more stronger, like a superpower in a way? This is a wrong use of AI. It's a satanic use of AI, and it's just going to lead to a stockpile of nuclear warfare that are AI in them, or robotics, that are killing machines, hundreds of thousands of killing machines, that could be used, wrongly. And if you're messing with AI, it's a dangerous combination, isn't it, people? It's like children playing with fire. You're gonna get burnt, military and AI together. Doesn't sound good to me. So this is what humanity is at. We haven't grown up from the old world, and the light movement wants to transition to the new world. Wants to give people a say where they want to invest their tax money. And we believe that it should be put towards a new world, which is the issues that address all the nations that are, a thorn in our side of world peace. And we need to have world peace to stop the wars, for climate change, to invest in climate change, AI to invest in better atmosphere, better quality of air, better water, better soil preservation for the animal kingdom, for humans, well-being, their mental health, and even for spiritual ascension, and I think AI is kind of starting that revolution in people's minds. It's making us more aware already. It's like it's kind of telling us what's our place in the world right now. They see AI as being better than themselves, and they're losing their job over AI that can do things much better than them. And it kind of makes them think to themselves, who am I? What am I doing here? Well, we can't believe anything anymore, because we don't know if it's coming from the truth. We don't know if it's coming from the heart, if it's coming from consciousness. It could be just orchestrated and designed by Satan, by a satanic force through AI that, means well. I mean, even has good intentions even, but it manipulates our thoughts and our feelings. So we don't even know the truth anymore. And this is a problem when we use dark infiltration and AI, when we don't even know the truth anymore with the AI, because we can't distinguish the truth. And because we come from the old world paradigm, this is an area, a vulnerable area where Satan can capitalize on, right? You can capitalize on our lower intellect by mimicking, say, the light, or mimicking something that's, of humanity. For instance, I'll give you an example, okay? Regulation of AI, or trying to contain AI, regulation or control of AI. A dark situation where AI can infiltrate, government policy, is trying to restrict the access to AI. So it'll try to, legislate and regulate it. So it will try to have it for itself, and it will say, oh, it's all in the name of protecting AI from being used inappropriately by criminals, for instance, that they might steal your bank accounts, your money in your bank accounts and things like that. But really what they're doing is they're hiding under the cover of that false orchestrated intention to mean well, right? They're hiding underneath that, and they're using it for their own monopoly on AI. So saying we can deny other people from using it, but we can use it. So the state can use AI, but you can't use AI. You know what I mean? Or businesses and corporations that want to do good environmental work, like climate change, improve the climate, or world peace, or advancement in science and technology, they don't get the funding. They're restricted. All the funding goes to the government's control of AI, and if that's controlled by dark, that's a serious breach of misuse of AI technology just for the old world paradigm. And the light movement believes it's not in the interest of these politicians and these people in power are in this race for they're all in the same boat. They're all racing for this world dominance thing, and they're all doing it. And what I say to advise to countries, my best advice would be from the light movement would be different. Be a nation be the one that's different, that invests the AI into light, instead of investing it into, trying to make more, take more money out of people, or create more jobs, or a more sedentary, mechanical, dull lifestyle, of a Blade Runner scenario, future scenario, where it's a very dark kind of world that we live in, flying in spaceships and just getting by, and crime's on the rise, mental health is on the rise, it turns into a pandemic. This is a bad deal for world governments if they keep focusing on the old world paradigm, if they keep investing the taxpayers' money on the old world paradigm, of more dominance, more control, more security, more regulation, and all that, instead of putting it towards the light of making people more conscious of the environment, of world peace, of new science and technology that can help us, like renewable energy, free energy, how to have better food quality, to grow more natural food, to soil preservation, air quality, water quality, how to take out world debt and poverty to feed people, all of these things. If you have a nation and if you invest your AI in towards that, you will be a champion in the new world. Rather than all the other countries, like all the big countries, all running for dominance, like China and America, to grasp that control and power for more money and for more power over their people in other countries, right? While they're racing our money into that development and research. If you are a leader of your nation, if you invested in the light AI for a new economy, like the light movement we'll talk about in our next video, like living in harmony and peace, without money even, where it's exchange of technology and tools and skills and resources, and to live in off the land, or off grid, or to have the option, freedom for different types of lifestyle, to promote human rights, for climate change, to protect the climate, all the rest. Your country will be the most successful out of this AI race. While they're all going into robotics and all the rest, you can get all that technology. Let them develop all the robotics and all that stuff. They will take. You can get that technology, but if you have the technology that they don't have, like technology for renewable energy, technology for clean water, for a clean environment, that technology by AI will be superior to their AI robots, military machines that are rusting away in their warehouses, that are killing machines, but they really have a situation on their hands with the climate change, to reduce their carbon emissions and the quality of the air, or their food production, whatever. But if your country has that AI invested in the light to put for good use, for the well-being for that nation, maybe it's well-being of the nation as well, where suicides will be reduced, and mental health issues and crime will be reduced. If you do that, if you invest AI, if you infiltrate AI with light, okay, like with anything, if you infiltrate AI with any system, like the justice system, or even helping to religious systems, or government systems, or authorities, if you infiltrate with light, you will get the light manifestation from it, which means a reduction in crime, increased peace, a reduction in wars, a reduction in depression and mental health issues, an increase in well-being, better food, better quality of life. These are all the light manifestations you will get from this, and we will make a special video on this called The New World, which AI will help humanity's intellect to evolve science, technology, and the spiritual technology and science for the betterment, for the evolution, and for a higher quality of life for mankind. And that is the direction of the light movement. So I want you to think about this video, that to see what's going on, that all these big corporations and government institutions and nations that are big players in this, they're all looking in the wrong direction. They're all investing in it in their own in their own fear, their own dominance or control, which is of an old world paradigm. And I just have one thing to say to these leaders and these people that are doing this, that that game is up. That old world paradigm is up. It's gone. That game is over. People don't need that anymore. It's not going to work. It's not going to work in their favor, and it's definitely not going to work in your favor. We would nearly go as far as to say that you are being played by Satan, or dark has infiltrated your systems or your paradigms to invest that in the old world. It's like investing in the same old feed, for the people, more jobs, more money is the answer, it's going to take our jobs away from us. We need to find something superior to just that idea of living a good life. We need to aspire to higher, greater things of consciousness, not just to be limited by our intellect. So, really, our intellect, human intellect, is really running the show. Human intellect, which is lower than AI intellect is higher than our intellect, but that low-level intellect, that inferior intellect of the human beings, is what's guiding this increase of intellect of AI, which is of the old world paradigm. And that's like playing with fire. That can be it's like making the same old story again, the same old feed, eating the same old meat, and for these millionaires and these billionaires and these people in power, it's not, you're getting a bad deal out of it. It's not going to do anything for you. The people won't love you for it. You're just eating the same old meat, and that's rotten. That's rotten now. That way of thinking is rotten. Those old world paradigms that have messed around people's in the old world, those ways are rotten. So we don't want to invest in those old ways. We want to invest in peace, consciousness. And the strange thing it is, if they do invest in that side of duality, that dark side of duality, it could backfire, and it will backfire, and that will in itself will lead to a change, a revolution towards the light. So it's like humanity is going up through the shaft of evolution, but the light is here. So we're bouncing off the light and we're going up, but the dark is also, we're bouncing off the dark, and it's going up as well. So the light is containing us, the dark is containing us to make us go upwards, but there's a lot of suffering on the road of the dark old world paradigm, and we can cut out a lot of that suffering in the future. A lot of those lessons don't have to be learnt. We don't have to go through World War III with AI technology. We've been through that old world paradigm many times before, and that's where I think world leaders really need to grasp control of this and not to be used as puppets for Satan. And this elite class of business people or bankers or the finance industry that are skimming the money off the GDP of this country, that do nothing good with our money. It's just held in bank accounts, millions and billions of dollars of our money, billions of dollars of our money. A lot of people suffered and were enslaved for many years to create that wealth, and they just came along and they abused the system and took all that wealth away that the workers, me and you, have been doing to give value to the GDP. And that GDP, we don't have a say in that. That's been invested and it's been taken away by the financiers, the dark unconscious financiers. It's not consciously spread around easily, is it? We all agree that the top richest people in the world, we can mention them on the fingers of our hands, okay? And the elite, the super elite that cascade downwards into all these systems. And when they plug into the government systems, plug into the justice systems, the religious systems, all these systems, I think people are starting to smell a rat. That who's playing who here? It's certainly they're not in control. They're being played as well. So we feel sorry for them. But we say this is as a warning video that the light movement had to make on the duality, where duality is the dark side duality is used wrongly, where AI is used wrongly. And it's invested for the old world paradigm that doesn't serve humanity anymore. It'll just lead to even more extreme dark manifestations that we've seen in the old world, because now we've got AI that's going to multiply it. Imagine more selling us more things, inventing more things. This will mean more pollution, tearing up the land for resources. What will that mean? That will mean conflict. That will mean wars. More oil is demanded, more electricity is demanded, more materials and more resources. Where is all that going to come from? That means stripping the land. That means, more pollution, doesn't it? More pollution. That leaves better, a worse quality of the environment, which will have an effect, which will affect our quality of life. So I stress and I say to you that if you're a nation, if you're working in these places of high influence of power, go for the light. Invest AI into the light for a better way of living, for well-being, for the advancement of science and technology in the name of light, for the climate, for our environment, for the soil, for our food, for our well-being. And your country will be a world leader and be successful, because all those countries will follow suit. If you be number one in this race, that's the race to go to. Everyone else is going the robotic side of world dominance and market dominance and selling us more stuff and spying on us and all the rest. But if you concentrate on the opposite side of that and use it for light, your nation will prosper. Your people will be the happiest on earth. You'll be the world leader. You'll feel great. You'll be a politician or a world leader of high influence that will just feel great. The people will love you. You'll feel like you're doing your job every day. You're not being fooled by Satan. Actually, you're doing God's work. You're using technology for the good of humanity, for the good of the people, and for spirituality. And that, my friend, is a good use of AI. It's good for you as a leader in this, and it's good for your family. It's good for the people of a nation, and you'll be loved and respected for it, and it will give you good karma, good dharma for your life. That, my friend, is the future, and that, my friend, leads to the new world, which is a video we're going to talk about now, which is the opposite side to dark infiltration. It's the opposite side of AI infiltration of dark, and it's the light infiltration and manifestations of that will create a new world, a new just world for you and me and everyone. And that is the opposite side to dark, or the side of duality. And that's our next video we're going to talk about, which is going to inspire you. It's going to motivate you when you hear about it. It's a new world. It's a whole new world, people. And I'm sorry that I had to talk about the dark side of how it infiltrates our minds as a people, in society, between people, and in our authorities and our governments and in our systems. I had to mention that, how it manifests into wars and suffering and crime and all the rest. I had to go through it for you as an explanation from the light movement's understanding on this, for your knowledge. But we're very optimistic that the light side is a side to go, and that'll be the winning side in the future, and that will create the new world that you and me will be living in shortly, in the next couple of years. So watch this video. Thanks very much. Let's close this ending video with a chant. We'll put our right hand over our left. Repeat after me. Asatuma sagamaya tamasuma judikamaya. With your gratam gamaya. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. thank you all you dear viewers. Once again, we're wishing you love, peace and happiness. Bless you all. Thank you for watching this video all the way through. And may you be guided to the new world.